Thank you so much. All right. Welcome everybody to this month of August, Ananse Tech Community Meeting. We're so happy that you all are here. Whoopsie, too many clicks. Okay, so our Ananse Tech meetings are sponsored by Sister Technology, which is based in Ghana, and NTC Tech, which is based in the US. Just a friendly reminder that all meetings are recorded and posted to our community YouTube channel later. So if you don't wish to be recorded, you can stay on mute and stay off camera, or you can disengage from the call and then watch the recording later. But we hope you stay and participate live with us. So right now we're in the welcome part. We already went through the arrivals. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the music. So next up, we're going to talk about the team. So you'll be able to meet the team. We'll talk about Ananse. And then we'll do our call for speakers, sponsors, and volunteers because this is a tech community. We have a few community announcements. We have a short video to give you some idea of like some of the tech that we talk about. And then we get into our speaker time. Now, one of our speakers isn't able to join us, but we have our other two. So they will be able to do their presentations and have a bit more time. And then we'll get into networking time if we have time, if time allows, and then we will close. So meet the team. I'm your host today. My name is Nakia Carter. I'm co-founder for Ananse Tech Community, also CEO for NTC Tech and CTO for Sister Tech. And then you see the rest of the team here, Harry Carter, Sigo Asando, and Imani Carter, all co-sponsors, all co-founders for Ananse and wearing various hats for NTC and CISA. Ananse Tech is a group for aspiring and young and in-career professionals and enthusiasts that are interested in Microsoft and Office 365, the things within like SharePoint and Teams, but also Power Platform and then related topics to that technology area. We also have topics around tech and tech career, regular career, as well as tech career. And then we try to also have networking time during each session. Here's the links to our LinkedIn company page, but actually we're moving the community over to the Microsoft Tech Communities, which will be a bit better, but I'll explain that in a minute. Now, if you'd like to get social with us, you can post about this meeting using your favorite platform, using the hashtag either Ananse Tech Community or you can use Ananse Tech. And you can post on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you want to post. This email isn't new, but we're still going to let you know that we do have this email for those of you who had the old one. If you ever want to reach out to us, and it's anansetech@sistertechafrica.com. And as I was saying, we're moving our Ananse Tech community to Microsoft Technical Communities. Yay! So there's the link on the slide. You can also put your email in the chat if you haven't already joined the Ananse Tech community on Microsoft Technical Communities, and we'll send you an invite directly. Or you can email us and your email, and we'll send you a link directly. That will just give you a better, and then LinkedIn, it's better when it comes to the events. You'll get notifications automatically when you sign up. It'll automatically send you an invite to the event so that it's on your calendar and you don't miss our next session. So all call, which we do every month, we're always looking for speakers. So whether you're a first-time speaker, a seasoned vet, anybody in between, we'd love to have you. This is a low-pressure environment. A lot of us start talking in user communities such as this. This is where I actually started doing my talking as well. And then from there, I was able to get on stages and stuff more easily from there. And it's also a good career and resume builder, something that you can put on your resume that you speak for different technical communities. Share your knowledge with the community. Sharing is caring. And we're looking for topics around tech, around Microsoft technology, M365, SharePoint, Teams, Power Platform, other related Microsoft technologies, and other technologies that is related to that technology. But also around career and around tech career. So if you have something to contribute, you know how to like keep a portfolio as a technical professional. You want to talk about having, uh, you know, professionalism, leadership in a tech career or career, topics like that, maybe even how you set up your LinkedIn profile. We are very much open to topics of all sorts around those areas. So please scan the QR code if you'd like to become a speaker. You can also reach out to us at the email anansetech@sysatechafrica.com. As far as sponsors and volunteers, we're always looking for sponsors. Right now we're online, but we would love to have some in-person events, and we would love to have some sponsors for those. We also love to have in-kind sponsorship where you give things like maybe you've written a tech book or a book on tech career or career topics, and you would like to give that out to the community. We look for those types of in-kind donations as well, other types of swag and prizes that we can give away. So if you want to be a sponsor, you can reach out to us at anansetech@sysatechafrica.com. Same thing for volunteering. We're always looking for good volunteers, and that is a great resume builder. You can put it on your resume, and we will also give you a letter of recommendation if you volunteer with us for at least 3 months. So we always need help around hosting the meeting, planning, speakers, attendees, so forth and so on. And then once we get the conference, then of course we'll need help around the conference and conference planning. So again, if you'd like to be a volunteer, reach out to us at anansetech@sysatechafrica.com. Speaking of volunteers, thanks so much to our current volunteer, Michael, who is our speaker coordinator and helps us to make sure we have speakers and that they know that they are when to show up. Okay, so now community announcements. Another thing that you could share with us, again, sharing is caring. Any tech communities, any tech career events, any conferences around tech, we'd love to know about those. So if you know any and you want to advertise them to our community, please share it to us at anansetech@sysatechafrica.com, and we will highlight it on our next community call. So there is a conference coming up, Esri User Conference. It's going to be in Accra, September 15th through 16th. Not sure of the cost right now, but you can go to that link. Also, this deck will be posted as a recap in our Ananse Tech Community and on LinkedIn, as well as the one on Microsoft Technical Community. So you'll be able to get to this deck and actually click on the link to get there. But this is a nice event for you to be able to go to. There's Agile in Africa coming up in October. And I just realized we forgot one, but I'll finish the Agile in Africa again in Accra at the end of October. So you can check that out. That's one you can definitely look up. It's very easy to find online, but there's the link to it. And I forgot to post that there's another one that's coming up. It's going to be mid-October. It's the Real Estate Tech Conference. I can't remember exactly. It's ARCE, and you can find that on LinkedIn as well. I forgot what it's at. I think it's an annual regional, no, annual, I don't know. Okay, don't let me get into that. But you can find it through ARCE, especially on LinkedIn. It is a conference that is be 2 days, the 15th and the 16th. It might even be 3 days, but I know it's the 15th and the 16th of October. Both Harry and I will be speaking at that conference. It's going to be in Accra, and we hope you join us for that as well. It's going to be around real estate, but real estate and tech. So our monthly schedule is still online at the moment until we get our attendees up. But then eventually we will have some quarterly in-person or mini conferences or maybe even a big conference. So we meet the fourth Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. GMT, but then there's also Eastern Time, which is 2 to 4 Eastern Time, and 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. Now, those times in the U.S. are going to change pretty soon because we're going to enter daylight savings time in the U.S. So the times will be, I think, an hour later. But you'll be able to check when you go to register for the event. It will show up with the correct time zone based on your time zone. Now, as we said, this is a technical community and is about teaching each other, so each one teach one. Please alert your friends and your colleagues, especially if they're around Microsoft technology, about this community so that they can learn and they can also grow and also potentially be a speaker or a volunteer for the community. We would love to have everyone and make sure that this technology is understood across everywhere that we can touch. Okay. So I just realized, let me try to put my, I'm about to do the next slide, which will have the video on it. It's just taking a minute for it to go. Let me share the sound so that you're able to hear it once it goes. Okay, not sure why it's spinning. Give me a second. Okay, looks like we got there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this video so you can hear about, oh, and it's not playing. Let me try to click on it again. And there we go.
My name's Jen Shaw. I am a sales manager for an industrial fabrics trade association. We publish 5 magazines, so trade publications. So my team sells the advertising for those publications, and I work with them to do that successfully. I travel a lot for my job. Most of our clients are not in the market where our office is. And when I do that, it's really convenient to open OneDrive and pull down files that I need to share with them or media kits. I appreciate having everything in one spot, so I know where to find it, whether I'm in Minneapolis or Philadelphia or Anaheim or wherever. Outlook, of course, is a lifesaver because it has the calendar and mail and everything in one, and that's really handy when you're setting up meetings. Well, we definitely use Skype for Business. One of my team members is actually remote, so she can message me from anywhere and we can have that really instant communication to be able to solve any kind of issue that's happening. I've been powerlifting for about 3 years. I enjoy feeling strong. I mean, it carries over into my job a lot. In sales, you've got, budgets to hit. You do the proactive work, you're prospecting, you're making connections with your clients. In the end, you're going to see you hit the goal. And same with powerlifting. If you show up and you do the work, you're going to get to where you want to be. I like to push the envelope, coming up with ways to help us work smarter and more efficiently. And I feel like Office 365 really helps us do that. Hi, you want a treat?
Let me go ahead and go to the next slide. If it'll let me. Okay. All right, so that was just a little video that shows you some things that Microsoft 365 has available in it and how it can help you do your work. So now we're about to get into the speaker portion. And first up, we have Annan, who will be talking about child flows and Power Automate. And then we'll have Kriss, who will talk about Excel with built-in Python. So again, our third speaker isn't available, but hopefully he'll be available in November. So Annan, do you want to go ahead and take over?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Annan. I'm a SharePoint and Power Platform developer at Tech. And I want to talk about chart flows in Power Automate, like Nikki mentioned. So Power Automate is a tool that we use every day in our activities for automations, but it has a feature that we don't normally use it. So today I'm going to talk about it, and that is chart flows. I'm going to share my screen, and then we get into it. Can you see my screen? Okay. So what are chart flows anyway? Chart flows are part of the main flow, but it executes a function or a feature of the main task. So like think of chart flows as functions in traditional programming language. If you have repetitive tasks or you want to keep your code clean and everything, you create a function and then you call upon them and you execute the tasks that you want them to do in the main component. If it becomes too heavy, you create child component. And if it goes beyond that scope, we create microservices. Okay, so this is how child flows work. The parent flow validates the child flow, and then the child flow will process the task that it's supposed to do. If it has to come up with a payload, then it does it. And then the parent flow continues with the actions that it's supposed to do. So a parent flow can have multiple child flows. And why do we even need child flows anyway? For reusability. Like I mentioned earlier on, some tasks are very repetitive. So it's easier if you have a child flow that you can call upon them in many other flows that you create in the future. And also maintainability, it makes the code clean, it makes the flow, the parent flow clean and manageable. If there is something going on with the parent flow, you know where it's coming from. You go to that particular chart that is messing up with the entire flow, you fix it, and then you move on. And also standardization. In an organization, there may be a particular way that something is done. In such a situation, you don't want the developer to alter that. So you create a chart flow, and whenever any developer is working in Power Automate that they need that service, they call upon that chart flow, and it will execute the task the way the organization wants it. And also scalability. So if you want to add more tasks to the flow, or if you want to expand the activities of that particular flow, it's easier. Like I mentioned, you can have multiple child flows in one parent flow. And at some point too, child flows are not optional. Maybe you've not experienced it, but it will get to a point that Microsoft will not allow you to add more actions in a particular scope or block. So when you go to this side here, you will see the limit of every action that you can use in a block. So to get to a point that Microsoft will not allow you to add anything else to the flow that you are burdened. So you have to use child flows to do whatever you want to do. So I want to get into the demo And at any point in time, if anyone has a question, he can bring it up and I'll address it. So this is Power Automate, our very own Power Automate that we know it. And then I've clicked here. I've clicked on the Create button here, and it has brought me here. So I think we can all locate our ways here. So chart flow can be triggered manually, can only be triggered manually. So I'm going to create a chart flow first, and then later on create a parent flow. You can do, it doesn't actually have a specific order, but since you are going to use the chart in the parent, it's advisable to create the chart flow first. So I'll click on here. Although it is triggered manually, but you are not going to interact with it in conventional sense like how we trigger manual flows. Just that it has, by the end of the demo, I hope you understand why it has to be manual. So I'll give it a name. I'm coming to create password generator. So it's a very simple flow. So I'm going to use a compose action. I'm going to call this character set. It's advisable to name your actions so that you know which one is messing up with you. And also it gives you more control in the programming aspect or the coding aspect. So I have this string here. It's nothing but alphabet and then the numbers and some characters. You can come up with anything at all. It doesn't really matter. This one doesn't matter. So I'm going to create another compose action. I'm going to call this highest index. I'll explain this one later on. So the sub is just a subtraction function. The length will give you the length of an array or string. So I'm going to provide the character set that I provided. And since it's subtraction function, I have to provide the second number that I'm subtracting, the first one. So it's the first number minus 1. And the first number is the length of the character set. So I'm subtracting 1 from it, and I'll explain why I'm doing that later on. And then I'm going to create a range. So we can see just a simple flow with just compose actions. So the range function provides or gives you an array. So if I say 0 to 8, it's going to give me an array of numbers from 0 to 7. So the range determines how long the password length should be. The password length, not the character set I provided earlier on. Okay. So like I said, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can just talk and then I will address it. So I'm going to look for apply to each. And since apply to each works with an array, and since the password range is giving us an array, it's okay for us to use it. And then inside the range, so the chart flow, this is just an example. So your program or in production, you will have a different program than mine. So it's not like it has to be this. So I'm going to create another compose action. I'll call this random now. So for demo purpose, I have to separate the actions that I am using. In production, you can just write everything that I've done so far in one compose action. So random number from 0 to the highest index. I'll explain that one too. And another compose action here. I'm going to call this character. So this is going to be a substring of the character set. So the substring function takes the first parameter of the substring function is the string that you want to take a part from. So the substring function actually returns a part of a string that you've provided. So the first parameter or the first argument it takes is the string that you want to take a part from. And we want to take a part from the character set. And the second parameter is where you want to start taking it from. So I want to start taking it from the random number. And the third parameter or argument is how many characters you need after that or from there. So I'm going to take just one character. So if you can, as you can see, we are using the random number here, but before we got the random number, we used the highest index. So if like the characters in the character set is 50, if we had 5 characters in the character set, or the length of the character set is 50, the highest index is going to be 49 because the indexing starts from 0. So in a situation that we want a random number and then it generates a number like 50, it means that over here we want a substring or we want a character at the index 50. In that situation, since the length of the characters is 50, the flow is going to fail because there is no character at the index 50. So the length of the character set is always one more than the highest index. That's why we had to subtract 1 from it. I actually don't know the length of the character set that I provided, so I had to do it this way so I can, I'll know it programmatically. So I'll come here and then create a variable. I'll call this password. It doesn't matter the name that I give here. It can be the same. So this is going to be a string. And at this point, it's going to be empty. And then I'll come here. I want to know, sorry. So at each point over here, we are going to get 1 character. So I'm going to variable. So append to a string variable. So into password. The value. And the value we are going to use is character over here. So I want to see the password that I'll get at the end of the day. It can be in the loop because like in the loop, we are only getting one character at a time. So I'll say something like new password. And I'll provide the password here so I know whatever I'm getting. I will save and then test it. Okay. Okay. I think it's done. So you can see it ran. Okay, this is the character set. We have it. The password is by default empty. And then the highest index, let's see what we have there, 84, which means the character set, the length of the character set is 85. Okay. And then the range, as we said, is giving us an array of 0 to 7 because we provided 8. So it will run, the loop will run for 8 times, and each time it will give us a character. And each character that it gives us, we append it to the password variable. And at the end of the day, we are going to have this password. Okay. Okay, so we've gotten the password. But I want to add something else. There will be a situation where the user might not want 8 characters to be the password length. So I want to add a variable here or initialize a variable here, and I'm going to call it password length. So I want the user to be able to override that 8 characters. Please enter password. Okay. And then I'm going to, so this way, when the user, I'm going to make this optional. And then over here or anywhere, you can, I'm going to add a compose action. I'm just going to call it length. So this one here, I want the user's value to override the password length that we provide. We had code, which is the 8. So this function here, police, what it does is that if you provide a set of values, so if the first one is provided, it will use it, else it will use the second one, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to say use the password length that the user will provide. Yes. As 8. Okay, so in the range here, instead of 8, I'm going to use the length. And also, when you have the flow like this is just a normal Power Automate flow. It has nothing to do with it being a chart flow or anything. So if you create a chart flow, it has to respond to other Power Apps or another Power Automate flow. That's what makes it a chat flow. So I'll come here and then look for respond to Power Apps or Power Automate. Okay, so at the end of the day, it doesn't actually have to return anything. It just has to respond. It doesn't have to return anything, but in this case, we want the password. And the payload that it returns, it doesn't have to be a string. It can be an array or a full SharePoint list. You just have to stringify it, and in the parent flow or in Power Apps, you pass JSON and then you get the array back again. So I'm going to create a variable here, and I'm going to call it password. And then this, I'm going to provide it the password value. So I don't need this one anymore. I don't want to use that to see the password I've generated anymore. I can see it from here. I'm going to test it once more. So the password length, I'm going to provide 16. So you can see the flow ran for 16 times. So this time it's not 8. So it has overridden the value that we had coded. So when you look into this is what it returns. So I'm going to show the output. And you can see from the body, you have this. This is the payload that it returns. And if you can count it, it's 16 characters. Okay. And one thing, you can only use chat flows when they are in a solution. So I'll come here. From Power Automate, you just have to click on Solutions and it will bring you here. I'm going to create a solution. And then create it. If the chat flow is not in a solution, you can't call it. Okay, so you might have your flow already created. So in that case, you just have to come to Cloud Flow and then you add it. It's outside database, so I'm going to select password generator and then add it. Okay, it's added. So we have our chat flow here. I'm going to create another flow, which is the parent flow, and then I'll demonstrate how to use the chat flow inside the parent flow. So a new flow, automation. So this flow, the parent flow, can have any trigger at all. It can be automated flow, just your normal way of creating a flow. But it has to be in a solution. In order for you to use chat flows, the parent flow and the chat flow both have to be in a solution. They don't necessarily have to be in one solution, but they both have to be in a solution. So the parent flow, like I said, can have any trigger, but I don't have any form or anything to submit, so I will just use the instant flow. and then I'm going to say create user. The manually triggered flow. So when you create a new flow from the solution, it gives you the classic view, not the new view. So I'm going to create variables here. I'm going to call this F name for first name. Please enter first name. Okay. So I have this. I can't save unless I add another action. So I'm going to use a compose action here. I'm going to call this username. And with the username, I want to take the person's the first character or the first string of the person's first name plus the last name. So I'm going to say the expression, I'm going to write this substring, the substring function again, and I want to get the first character of the person's first name. Starting from index 0, meaning the first character, give me just one character, starting from index 0, meaning if the person is John, give me just J. Okay, so I'll have that in addition to the person's last name. So I'll cut this and I'll use this concat. So the concat is a string concatenation or concatenation function. It joins strings for you. It doesn't do anything else. It just joins the strings that you have. So this is the first string, and the second string will be the last name. Okay. And I want to make everything lowercase, so I'll cut it and then use this function to lower. So this one will turn everything into lowercase, no matter if the user types it in capital letters or not. Okay, so I'll save this flow and then open it in the new view. Okay, I'll come here and then edit it. So you just have to close it and open it again so you get the new view. So since I want to create a user, I'll come here and then look for Entra. And then I'll pick create user, account enabled. So you might have these details like the user, so the first name and then the last name, you might have it from a form so that when the user submits it, you just fill or automatically run this flow for you. So the display name, so the first name and the last name. First name, last name. And the main nickname is the username that we've provided. And then I will leave the password for now. And the user principal name is the username plus your domain ID. So username, my domain ID is here. It's everything after the @ sign. I'll copy it. So there is .com. It wasn't displayed here. So you just have to make sure it's your domain, your organization's domain. So the given name, the first name, and the surname is last name. So I'll come here and then I'll go to flows or I'll search for flows. You only see this if this parent flow is in the solution. If it's not, and it's just a normal way of you creating a flow, you won't see it. So you come to flows, run a chart flow, look for the chart flow. So you can see that there are other flows here. But this one is here, but you can't pick it. This is the actual flow that I'm working in right now. So this flow is in another solution, but I can still see it here. It means that the solution that you create the flow in, it doesn't actually matter. It just has to be in the solution so you can use it. You can use it anywhere or outside that solution. Okay, so the password generator is here. So if that password length was required, you will see it right beneath it. But since it's not required, you have to come to show or to see the password length. So if you are the admin creating the users from a form, you might want to give the users dynamic password length. So you can add the password length to the form and then use it to fill here. Or you can just standardize everything and then say maybe 12, meaning like the password length for creating a user will always be 12. If you don't provide anything, by default, it will use 8. So I've provided that. I'll come here and run a chart flow. You see, it gives us a payload, which is password. Okay. So I'll save it. I don't actually want to send any notification or anything because this is not a production activity. In your production activities, you might want to add other actions. And of course, you can have multiple chart flows in this particular flow that we are working in. So I'll test. And since it manually triggered, I'm using Entra here, so you have to sign in. So the first name, these are required first. Okay, so I'm expecting the password, the username to be H Woodstone. Let's run it and see that's what we get. So this has run, so let's see. Okay, H Woodstone, yeah, it's here. And the user was also created. Okay, so if I go to Entra right now, I'll see the user created in there. Okay, so the Houston is here, and then I'm going to delete her. Okay, it is deleted. So one thing that you need to know about chat flows. So provided I used APIs in this flow, like maybe SharePoint or any other, or SharePoint or this intra connection that I used in the parent flow, provided I used anything like that in this flow, you will have to come here. You have to come to the connection references. When you come, you see all the connections that you've used or all the APIs that you used. And then you set the connections to yourself. So the reason is that in production, the users will be using the parent flow. They don't know anything about child flow. That's behind the scene. Right? So many flows run in the name or in the connection of the user, the current user. So since there may be situations that the connection or the authentication from that parent flow will not reach the child flow. So there is supposed to be a fallback connection so that if the authentication doesn't reach there, it will run in the developer's connection. So if like you use SharePoint and then you run in the parent flow, you didn't use anything like SharePoint. So the flow ran. In this case, there's supposed to be a fallback connection, and that has to be you, the developer who developed it. So although the user is running the entire flow, but they are not actually interacting with the parent flow. If you don't do that, the parent flow will not save. You get an error, and you have to come here and then fix it. When you fix it, then you go ahead and save it. If it doesn't work, you open the flow, the child flow, don't do anything, just save it, and then save the parent flow again. So that is all you need to know about child flows. If there are other questions, you can let me know before I give the mic to Nikki or the next person to present.
Any questions, folks?
So I have a question. Not really a question. The last part wasn't really clear to me. So
Okay.
If you can repeat that. About
Yeah, I get you.
yeah.
I'm coming. Okay. So when you come here, you see the connection references here, right? So this gives you an idea of the connections that you've used so far in the flow. So you come here, sorry, in the chart flow, you will see you'll be able to change the connection reference for the chart flow. You'll be able to change it. But the reason you need to set that, you need to make that explicit is that the users who are going to use the entire flow, they are not going to interact with the chart flow. That is something that you, the developer, you engineered behind the scenes. The users don't know that. So if someone is going to run this flow right now, someone is going to run it. It's going to run in the connection that I created in the flow. Or there are some situations, maybe when you are using adaptive card or something, it will run in the current user's connection. So if the person doesn't have access to Entra, the flow will not run. So there has to be a fallback connection for the child flow. Since the user isn't interacting with it directly, there has to be a fallback connection, and you have to make it explicit that it's you the developer. It should always use your connection and not the user, because there are some situations flows run in the current user's connection. So make it explicit that it should always run in your connection, so that if the authentication from the parent flow, the actions in the parent flow do not reach here, it will use the one that the developer has set. I don't know, is it clear now?
Yeah, it's clear. So
It,
does that mean if so it's only the developer, for example, a premium how do you call it? A premium action or connection, a premium connection. Does that mean it's only for a child flow? Mm-hmm.
No, not a premium connection, any connection at all.
Yeah, I get it. So so does that mean that when it's a premium connection, you see sometimes for Power Automate, some of the connections, every user who is running that flow is supposed to have
Premium license, yeah.
A premium license, yeah. So does that mean for this one, if you set the developer, does that mean it's only the
Exactly.
developer that needs that premium license?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
So the connection is set to the developer always. So there won't be anything like you don't have the license to run this flow or something. The connection is always in the name of the developer. So it will only the developer will require that.
All right. Thank you so much.
So if there aren't any questions, I think I'll thank all of you, and then I'll let Nikki take over.
I don't see any other questions in the windows, but folks, if you have questions, now's the time to ask. All right, this was a great presentation showing how you can break up your flows, especially so you don't reach that limit. And also, like you said, for error handling, it can also be very beneficial there too. That way you don't have this big, super long flow and then you're trying to debug it, the whole thing. Just makes things very maintainable and reusable. But also, one question that I do have, can you take one of those the child flows and connect it to a different parent? So have like two different parent flows that are using the same child flow.
Okay, so I'm going to create a new flow. Let me do it from this solution. Okay. So I actually, okay, so this one is maybe I'll call this one password, just password. And then, so in production, you might have other use cases for something like this. I'll have to add a compose action. I want to go to the new view, so I have to add a compose action and then save it so I can come back here. Okay. I'll go to flows, run a chat flow, and then password generator. Okay, so in this case, I'm actually going to provide a password from here. So the password length. So this has become another parent flow. We need to test it.
Anyway, one question as you are testing it. Does it have to be under the same solution?
No, like
Okay.
it's in the entire tenant.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's just that it has to be in a solution.
Okay.
So this is the password. Yeah. So if like you have a use case like this, you can use it in many parent flows.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, that makes it very, very reusable.
So is that all, please?
Yeah, I believe so, at least for me. Anybody else have any questions? All righty. Thank you so much, Annan. That was very informative. Awesome to see how child flows can benefit developers trying to get, especially long, complex workflows done and how best to do it, or getting workflows done that where a child may be usable by multiple different parent workflows. That's awesome. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. If you end up thinking of any questions for Anand while he's on the call, because he'll be on the call, you can put it in the chat window and we can address, or he can address it there. So thank you again so much, Anand. All righty. So next up, we have Kriss. I'm sorry, Kriss, I'm not pronouncing your first name. If that's your preferred name, my apologies. It's just I always said Kriss on LinkedIn. So feel free to correct me if you like to be addressed differently. But he'll go into Excel with built-in Python, talk about some data visualization and analysis.
Okay, thank you. By the way, the first name over there isn't my first name. That's my surname. That is called Afreh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
Kriss
you.
is my first name. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So as the name goes, I'm Afreh tracing team, and I have started a small IT company called Afreh Technologies, where we are providing solutions for schools or educational sectors in our country. Basically, I've been working with Excel a lot because in most of my solutions, I do a lot of imports and exports. Sometimes I have to do analysis of my data. So I basically stay with Excel to do those analysis. But mostly, I usually import these Excel files into my workflow before I can even manipulate the data and see the analysis I have for the data. So I'll be sharing my screen very soon. Okay. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. So Microsoft has added a new feature in Excel, but this feature is found on the online version of Microsoft 365 and the part of Excel. So they've added a new feature where we can manipulate data using Python directly, so that you don't write your code separate from the main file. So that is what today we will be looking at. So as you can see, Python in Excel, overview and value. Python code runs directly in Excel now, which helps combine the traditional Excel where we have the grade system. It still has its former traditional codes that we write or functions that we write to manipulate our data. But this time we have this feature which is making it more advanced for us. So now Python code can be executed directly into Excel, where we can blend the Python scripts with the Excel formulas that we have. But this Python program is run on Microsoft servers, which means we don't have local form of the Python on our machine. That is why we run this one online. So this particular feature can be run only on online because it's running on Microsoft servers. And which means it also leads us to a little bit of limitation. So if you have experience with Python, you know Python works greatly with libraries where people write their custom codes. You can go for them to manipulate your code or a solution you are trying to build. But because it's the Python is found on Microsoft servers, you have access to limited libraries, and the libraries are built I think it's intentional to help with an aspect of data analytics like visualization, statistics analysis, and even the current ML learning, and even with the development of AI, because they all go in line with data. So when we go to advanced data processing, that is what the main feature is actually doing, where we can do the data cleaning, the statistical analysis, machine learning. We can do all that in the spreadsheet without switching to our Python environment. So we can do that in that same environment. So without wasting time, I'll move to my screen here with an Excel sheet where we will understand how to even turn on this feature. But we have to be aware that before we can use this tool, we have to also have a basic knowledge with Python programming. So it's going to be a little bit advanced because we are not here to look at the Python programming. We are here to look at the feature that is in Excel, which will help us and make our work more easier and faster here. So this feature is added under the formula. So when you check under the formula, there is a new feature where we have the Python over there. where we can just click on it. So the cell that you want to work with, you can select the cell. So for now, I have A3 selected, and I want to start Python at A3. So I can click on this where I will get myself formatted in this way. There is another way. Those who like the shortcut form can also go with Control Shift Alt and P at the same time. That will also draw that same format for the cell for you. So within this cell, this is where we can actually do or type our Python script in. And you have access to multiple lines. So you can break down the lines using the enter to get a larger cell, or you can still go by the traditional way of enlarging the cell and use it. So I will start with a common Python script, which in the Python language goes with the print function. But here, we can just go with what we want to print out. You can go with what we want to print out here. So I want to print hello out, and I close it. Now, the enter key is used to actually move to the next line. So if you want to run or execute your Python code over here, you have to go with the control key and enter at the same time. So you could see I have busy over here, and the busy here is telling me it's not processing. So it has to go back to the server and process the Python script for us. So here, as you can see, I have my Python code executed over here. Now within this, we can change the script. So we have a Python object which is saved for us, and we can also change it back to an Excel format, so an Excel value. So I can just change it by clicking on this, then change back to the Excel format, or if I still want the Python value, I can just change it back to the Python value by changing the small drop down button here. I'll get access in changing this one, changing the objects that I have over there. So we can do our simple math that we usually do with Python and even with Excel. I know with Excel we go with the formulas and we consider the cell. So because we are using Python today, Python has a concept called variables, and in variables here we can store data types over there. So I can store a data type here. So I'm storing data type, giving it a name of laptop. Then I have maybe the quantity, giving it a value. Then I can add maybe mobile phone, so phone, and give it a value. Where I have, let me use a different number, 10 here. Okay. So once I'm done, I can run my code so that the system keeps track of my Python codes over here. So what is happening here is it always shows the last value or the last item that was typed. So in this cell, after running it, we are seeing 10 over here, because the cell always displays the last item in the cell or that was typed. So with this, I can actually take my data and add them using the math operations that we have. So I can just calm down, open a new Python file here. Then I want to store a total. So I want my total to be equal to the laptop. So the laptop plus the phone. After running this, it automatically adds my variable for me and gives me the final answer. So as you can see, we have 6 plus 10 and we are getting the 16. So I'm actually calling the variables and I'm just doing the math operation. So any of the math operation can also work here. You can still come here, use the multiplication sign here too and run it. We still get our answer. So this can also help us with our math calculations, most of the calculations. One thing for executing Python code, imagine, let me cut this from here and paste it on top of this. Okay. So with Python programming, it's usually a line, and that same rules are also applied over here. So as you can see here, this time my code is not running, but I'm having an error here because the variables are found beneath the total function I have. So the system is finding it difficult to execute it. So where you place your line of code also matters. Similar to if I'm to do the same thing for a row, if I keep it at the back here, or A4 and run it, I'm still going to face the similar challenges over there. So if I can run this one successfully, it should be before the cell where I have my variables defined. So here, if I want to run this one, I can run it in front of cell B4. Now I still get my final answer as expected over here. Basically, Excel also can do this for us. So this, the main motive behind this is to help with analysis. So there are certain forms of data that we have that needs a lot of codes, a lot of formulas, a lot of functions to execute them. For example, as you can see on my screen, I have a table, or I have a set of data where we can see we have students, we have the scores, we have study hours, attendance, then the age. So this is a normal frequency distribution table. And we want to do our analysis, statistical analysis on these data that we have. So there is a way of doing this, and it's very easier. With a line of code, you can just get all your analysis that you need. But one thing I talked about initially was the functions, the libraries that you need to import to run these. So there are some inbuilt libraries. When I click on the initialization, it's going to tell me the libraries I have, which I can use. And if you actually want to learn these libraries, so we have NumPy here, Pandax is also found here, and there is a library called Matplotlib. The Seaborn is found here, the stat models is found here, even the Excel model is also found here. Then we have a warning model module also here. So if you actually want to run them or learn more about them, these libraries have documentation which make it easier for you to basically run them. So for example, let me open a new tab and so these are some of the documentations, and they actually help you in setting or going about with the library you want to use. So here, this is an example over here which we can actually use. So there are examples that I'll be using from this end, and they are all Python codes that I'll be using. So I'll be using the pandas to keep this one into a data frame. So when you go into pandas, there is a they call a table of data frame. So we can just set it over there. So here I will initialize my Python cell, then keep the whole cell in a variable. So let's go as BF. And instead of me typing, I can actually highlight the entire cell. But there is one more important thing here we need to consider. This data has headers over here. So we actually need to also tell our function that we have headers. So it should consider the headers. So I'll set my headers to true over here. Then run this code. So control enter to run the code. So as we wait for it to run our code for us. Okay, so it's giving us the Python object where it's called the data frame. So you can right click on it and you check the data card. So you can see we have our data which is being shown over here. Okay, so after getting this, Pandas has a feature which makes analysis or describing a statistical data very easy. So I've already named the data frame as BF, so I can recall, set my new Python environment, then call the variable, then use the method. So in Python, they have this method where we use the dot to actually access functions that are written in classes. So there is a method in called describe. I open and close the parentheses, then run this code. Okay, so I have the code run, but still is in Python object, which I can still inspect it over here. Now you can see the object that is coming is giving me statistical analysis on the data I have, telling me the number of counts. So to see this in Excel, you can just come back here and convert it to an Excel value at this end. Convert it to an Excel value. Okay, so yeah, so our data is in. So as you can see here, this in Excel, you need to write a lot of functions to write this. But with a simple line of code and with the help of Python, we can actually get all our statistical analysis here. So we have our mean, the standard deviation, the median, and the median. Sorry, the minimum value, the percentiles. We have the percentiles here. Then we have the max here. So in Excel, if you were to use Excel functions and formulas, we have to write a whole lot of functions to actually generate these codes or these statistical analysis at our end. But with the help of Python and in one line, we can actually generate this, which is very faster for us. Okay, so moving on, please, if there is any question, you can actually ask as I'm progressing. Okay. So though Excel also gives us the power of visualization. But there are times where some of these visualization is a little bit hard to actually customize. Maybe you want a customized form, especially those doing research and their data don't fit the graph or the visualization that they can actually work with. So, for example, we have the Gantt chart. Maybe we want to use the Gantt chart on this data set I have over here. There is an easy way to also do that. So, here, I can activate my Python. So, and this time, using this, I have to go through a series of series of codes to actually bring this thing to board. So maybe there could be a new timer who is actually going through this Python experiencing Python for the first time. The person might find it a little bit tough. So I've already generated the codes down. So from here, I have it here. So I'll recopy the code over here. Then activate my cell and paste it over here. So as you can see, it has math.lit and pandas over here. So I'm using these libraries to actually write my graph. So it's a matter of running it. So we wait for it to run. Okay. So you can see the object here is telling me I have an image. I can view the image or still convert it into an Excel value. So we are waiting as it's converted into the Excel value. Okay. Okay, delaying. Okay. So it's actually delaying for a while. I think it's a network issue. Okay. So we have our chart here. Now we can enlarge our chart and see the visualization that we have or what we created with the Python code. So this is the Gantt chart that we have from the code that we have. So if you are actually learning it for Python for the first time and you want to also actually add it into your projects and even in your work, we have an assistant also in the Excel, which you can also use, and it can also actually direct you and help you with the formulas and even the lines of code you need to actually write. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation for the Python programming, Python in Excel. Please, is there any question?
Don't see any questions in the chat window. Any questions, folks? Although I do have a question around, so using, I know there's lots of different reasons for you to use code in something like this, but since you can do like pivot tables and such, What is the advantage of using Python? I'm guessing it's for more complex crunching of numbers.
Yes, so the libraries that were even actually selected are for advanced work. So we have NumPy, which also helps in scientific analysis. So if someone has scientific analysis over there, the person can go for the NumPy. So basically, most of the times, they usually store their data in Excel sheets. And instead of we actually calling these Excel sheets in our Python lines of code, we can rather come back into the Python and the Excel file and run these lines of code over there. I don't know if your question is answered.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Kind of figured. Anyone else?
I think I have a question.
Okay.
So the libraries that I saw at the right-hand side, is it like default ones or you can install some later on? Is it like the only libraries you can work with or they are the only
Yeah.
available?
Okay. So I get your question. So far, because we don't have direct access to the server where the Python is actually installed on, we can't add new libraries to the Excel sheets. So we go with the available libraries over there and use them. So far, these are the available libraries over there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have a question, just to be sure.
Okay.
You see, when you started, you were saying you can only do this in the, how do you call it?
Online.
The web app.
Yeah,
Yes.
the web app.
Yes. So I wanted to find out after you're done running everything, after you're done running it, and you open it in the desktop app, are you able to see all the tables and the analysis you created, everything in there?
Yes. So you will be able to see it once you convert them back to the Excel values. So you can see I converted them back to Excel values, which I can use them directly. So when you download them down, they will be saved as Excel values.
Okay. So it will automatically be saved to, or you have to do it yourself. Once you export it, it
So you have
automatically
to,
saves it.
yeah, so you have, basically I have to save on, so it saves on down, but if you want to download it down, you have to ensure that you've saved everything back to you've converted everything back from Python object to the Excel value.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Please, is there any other question?
Any other questions, folks? Alrighty. Thanks so much, Kriss. As you can see, I corrected your name on the slide.
Oh, okay. I just
Whoever
noticed.
Yeah, that way that is right for when people download this deck when it's needed. So thank you so much for your talk. We appreciate it. We'll go ahead and move into our next section, which is for tonight and this month. So some of the things that we've discussed can be potentially tried in a Microsoft 365 dev account. You can sign up for a free-ish Microsoft Dev account to try some of these things out or other things that we may present during other sessions. The catch, though, is that you need to have either Visual Studio Professional or Visual Studio Enterprise in order to sign up. But that's the QR code. You can scan that QR code to get to the place to sign up to get your free-ish Microsoft Dev account and then be able to try things, such as the things that we have been showing you in sessions like these. Don't forget about the Microsoft Tech Community. I'm actually going to put it in the chat window, a link directly to it so that you can join us there, because eventually we are going to not post our events anymore on LinkedIn. We're going to post them directly on the Microsoft Tech Community, and the reason why is because you get alerts immediately once you are a member. And when you sign up for the events, you automatically get the calendar invite, you automatically get the reminders and such. So it's easier for you to be reminded of when the next event is coming. It'll also, like I said, add it to your calendar, so you'll have it in your calendar as well. So we would love for you all to join us at the Microsoft Technical Communities, our Ananse Tech Community over there. We'll still talk about and use the LinkedIn community at least for a while, but once we hit a certain number, all of our events will only be posted there. So you want to take advantage of that. All right. So thank you so much for joining us for this month's call. If you have feedback, feel free to use our post-event survey. You can join the tech community, again, using the QR code here, as well as the link in the chat. There's also our Ananse Tech Community link on LinkedIn, but again, we'll be moving away from posting our events there, but we'll still post recaps and things like that there. And then our events on Ananse, on the LinkedIn, actually I'm going to change this next time, but this time it's there. The QR code for next month's event in September, which will be September 24th, is that QR code right there. It'll actually take you to the Microsoft Tech Community. And there's the link that on the slide to the event in the Microsoft Tech Community. And I've also put it in the chat, so you can click on that link and then register for next month's event. Again, we enjoyed having you all. Hope you all learned a great deal of stuff. I know I did. And we look forward to seeing you in September. Have a good one, everybody.